This year, both Time Out and The Telegraph just voted Cape Town the #1 city in the world. But is this just all hype, or does Cape Town actually live up to these awards? And if so, why aren't more people talking about some of the surprising facts that make this city so wonderful? For example, did you know that you can share the beach with both penguins and ostriches? And did you know that Cape Town was the first place in the world to carry out a heart transplant? Well, that fact and loads more I'm going to share with you later on in the video. And considering everything that you're going to hear about in today's video, should you go and visit? And if you do, what about the question that I get asked all the time, which is, hey Rob, but is it safe for me to go? So let's dive in, let's share some of the surprising facts that make this our favourite place on earth, and of course, Time Out and The Telegraph agree. So let's kick things off and talk about why we go to South Africa every single year. Now, I've been to lots of places like you probably have as well. And for my 50th, James thought it'd be really good to go to South Africa and explore the country and spend time in Cape Town. I don't know if you're aware, but he grew up in Zimbabwe, so he was fairly familiar with Africa and already loved the nation, but I'd never been before. So for my 50th, we did that typical thing. We spent some time in Cape Town and then went on the garden route, and I absolutely fell in love with the place. And fast forward 10 years, and as you know, if you've been following this vlog for a while, we bought a home there and we plan to spend our winters when we're both retired and we get our residency. We're going to spend our winters in Cape Town, which of course is their summer, so we escape the European winter. So we obviously love the place, and I just want to share with you some of the reasons why and also bust some of the myths. Now, not surprisingly, when you mention South Africa, most people think of safaris, and indeed it's a fantastic place to go for safaris, but South Africa is so much more than that. It's one of the most biodiverse places in the world. In fact, it has 10 UNESCO heritage sites, yet most tourists only visit 1 or 2 of them. So as I mentioned in the introduction, Time Out has just voted Cape Town the #1 city of 2025. The Telegraph Travel Awards voted it the winner for 8 years in a row, and that's sort of backed up by the fact that Cape Town has a lot of visitors. In fact, in 2024 there were 8.24 million people coming through the airport. And of course, as a result of that, tourism is really the #1 industry. It supports about 1.46 million people, which is more than mining in South Africa, so it's a pretty important contributor to their overall GDP. So you might have been to Cape Town before, and you can let me know what you think, and obviously you can hear that we love it, but let's just dig a little bit more into why it is consistently voted the #1 city in the world to visit. From mountains to 2 oceans crashing into each other, it really does have everything, and that's why we go back year after year. One of the things I really love about Cape Town is the biodiversity. You're in the city in Cape Town, but it's by the ocean, you're right by the mountains. You can drive an hour north and you head towards the sort of beachy surfing area. You can go to the Winelands, you can drive through the mountains, you can go into the Karoo, which is the more sort of dry, arid areas. And every time we go, we are always making sure that we explore some little out of the way place that we've not been to before. And we often discover amazing places like Caledon or Greyton that are literally just on our doorstep, but are always exciting new discoveries. Now, Cape Town is one of the most biodiverse cities in the world. The Cape Floristic region, which is a UNESCO site, houses over 9,000 plant species, of which 69% of them are endemic to South Africa. That's more plant species than the UK and New Zealand combined. Now, of course, when I'm talking about why we think Cape Town is such a fantastic place, you have to mention the food and the wine. Obviously, people are aware of the wine. You can buy South African wine in most supermarkets, which are just as good as, for example, Californian wines without the Napa price tag. And Grup Constantia, which is the country's first wine estate, was opened in 1685 and is the oldest winery outside of Europe. Now, of course, people know South Africa for the wine, but I have to mention the food as well, because it is absolutely fantastic. You are going to have some of the best food you've ever eaten at literally half the price tag of what you would pay for in the UK or in the US. You're going to have amazing steaks. You can try things like ostrich and alligator. And of course, you mustn't leave South Africa without having had a braai, which is their version of a barbecue. Another thing that makes South Africa so amazing is how friendly the people are. In fact, in a Time Out survey, 87% of Cape Townians said they absolutely love their city, and this is definitely borne out by how friendly people are. You can walk along the street and look people in the eye and then say good morning, and they'll be really happy that you have spoken to them, and they'll speak back, and people are only too happy to help. Whereas I think in the UK, if you were in London and you said hello to someone, they probably think you are going to mug them, and most people in London have got their heads down and are walking as fast as they can to get wherever they're going. Cape Town is definitely not that. It's definitely a friendly city. Now, of course, you've got to be on guard about security, and I'll talk more about that shortly. Another thing that surprises a lot of people, and it surprised us, I think, when we first found out, is that Cape Town is one of the most gay-friendly cities in the world. And here's a few facts that really surprised me. And South Africa was the first country in the world to constitutionally protect LGBTQ+ rights. It was the first country in Africa to legalise gay marriage in 2006, and it's still only one of 2 countries in Africa to legalise same-sex marriage rights, the other being Namibia. But in Namibia, you can't actually get married if you are gay, but if you're married like James and I are and you go there, your rights are protected. Okay, those are all the amazing reasons why we love South Africa and why we think you should visit, but we do also need to have a bit of a reality check, because Cape Town is far from perfect, and we need to talk about that. And the first thing I should mention is load shedding. Load shedding is basically power cuts. And this is basically because their grid at certain times can't produce enough electricity. So for many years, you would find out each day that there was no power for 2-hour time blocks, maybe 2 or 3 times a day even. Now, this has definitely died down since March of 2024. And as of May 2025, and I'm recording this in August, there haven't actually been any load shedding, so fingers crossed that will continue. But the reality is that it's South African winter at the moment, so demand on the grid is lower because there are way less tourists there and everybody doesn't have their air conditioning on. So we'll see if that continues when I'm there, when we're heading into spring and summer. But the first time we went there in 2014, it was definitely an eye-opener for us. I remember going into our Airbnb and there was a sheet of paper on the bed saying that there will be load shedding, i.e. electricity blackouts at these times, and it was sort of like 8 a.m. till 10 a.m, 2 till 4 p.m, and then 8 till 10 p.m. at the night. And back then, a lot of places didn't have their own kind of power supply, like generators or backup batteries. So it basically meant that you had no electricity. So we were sitting with candles. So that was a bit of an eye-opener for me. And as I said, touch wood, there has been a lot less of load shedding recently. And basically this has happened because since the 70s, South Africa hasn't invested enough money in their electricity infrastructure and in Eskom, which is the one and only government-owned electricity generating company. And so the generators are old and they haven't invested in them to repair them. And so when the grid, there's a lot of demand on the grid, they just can't cope. So I'm hoping that this might be a thing of the past, but we shall see this year whether that happens or not. Now, as I mentioned, whenever I tell people I spend lots of time in South Africa, the first question they ask, which really annoys me, is, yes, but Rob, is it safe? And the truth is, crime absolutely exists, but most tourists are safe for a number of reasons. First of all, because most of the crimes happening in, for example, in Cape Town, in the Cape Flats, which is not an area where a tourist would intentionally go. And second of all, you just need to apply a few sensible strategies, like not walking around with your camera around your neck, with loads of expensive jewelry on, with your wallet sticking out your back pocket. Take an Uber, especially at night. They're super cheap, very available, and that's much safer than walking around on your own. If you're walking with a backpack, put both straps on your shoulder, because if you've just carrying it with one strap, like I often do here, people could easily rip it off you. In fact, I sometimes even carry it on the front of me. And also follow any local advice that you're given. And if you do all of that, you can feel completely safe. I am there a lot of the time on my own because James is still working here, and I feel completely safe, and touch wood, nothing bad has ever happened to us in 11 years of visiting South Africa. Although of course I have heard stories of people having bad things happen to them, so I know that it could happen to us, but we are applying these safety rules, and so far so good. Now, a few kind of sobering stats about Cape Town and safety is that Cape Town recorded 3,000 homicides in 2023, which is the highest of any city globally, but mainly in the Cape Flats areas I mentioned, and tourists typically would never venture into those areas. And indeed, tourist areas such as the V&A, the Winelands and Table Mountain are considered very, very safe. The Numbeo, I think that's how you pronounce it, safety index, Cape Town scores 24 out of 100, which is very low, but tourist experiences are overwhelmingly positive if you do the things that I have mentioned. And ironically, just to kind of emphasize the positive aspects of this, Cape Town's biggest tourist attraction, which is the V&A waterfront, which is a beautiful waterfront where there's lots of restaurants and shops and you can go sailing from there, has more visitors every year than the Eiffel Tower. Now, another reality check is the inequality that exists in Cape Town. Now, I'm painting a really positive picture as a white person from the Northern Hemisphere visiting, where my pound goes a lot further because the pound is very strong against the rand. But the reality is about 60% of Cape Town residents live in settlements or townships as they're more commonly known. It's a city of extreme beauty and stark contrast. Cape Town's Gini index, which measures inequality, is 0.58 out of 1, which is one of the highest globally. This indicates a significant disparity in income distribution within the city. And you know, this is a legacy of the apartheid era, which created deep-rooted social and economic divisions. Now, apartheid ended in 1990, but we are still feeling some of the repercussions some 35 years later. Now, I want to talk about one of the things that really frustrates me about South Africa, and that is that South Africa needs to do a much better job of marketing itself and doing more PR so that people don't always think of South Africa just for safaris, or they ask me that question, yes, Rob, but is it safe? And I think this is largely because South Africa is really bad at doing its own marketing. Despite winning these awards, it blows my mind that South Africa isn't in more of the top 10 travel lists that are published every year. It's way more affordable than Europe, it's absolutely beautiful, and it's safe if you are smart. And it's full of surprises, as you will see in the next section of this video. And the truth is that South Africa has a perception problem. Yes, as I said, people know that they can go there for a safari, but this is just a tiny slither of the amazing experience that people could have if they knew more about South Africa. And that's one of the reasons why I shoot these videos, because I'm definitely a cheerleader for Cape Town and South Africa itself. So where's the marketing for the winelands? Where's the marketing for the mountains, the amazing climate, the gay friendliness of the place, and the absolute affordability? We just don't really hear about those things except for videos from people like me and other vloggers. Did you know that tourism contributes to 8.2% of South Africa's GDP? That's more than mining or agriculture. Domestic tourism brought in 121 billion rand of revenue in 2023. And as I said earlier, the V&A waterfront attracts 24+ million visitors a year, which, as I said, is more than the Eiffel Tower. So come on, Cape Town, this is a plea to you to do better at your marketing, and please help me have people stop saying to me, I don't want to go to Cape Town or South Africa because I'm not sure if it's safe or not. So let's wrap up this week's vlog by sharing 11 surprising facts that you probably don't know about Cape Town. And I shared this with James and he didn't know most of them, so I'm sure you will find them surprising as well. So number one is that Cape Town is the only city in the world where you can surf 2 oceans in one day. So the cold Atlantic and the warmer Indian Ocean, where they meet at the Cape Peninsula. The second fact I wanted to share is that Table Mountain's cable car rotates 360 degrees as it climbs up the mountain, and it's one of only 3 rotating cable cars in the world. Now, talking of Table Mountain, did you know that Table Mountain itself is older than the Himalayas? It's estimated to be about 260 million years old. Surprising fact number 4 is that Cape Town hosts the largest cycle ride in the world. the Cape Town Cycle Tour. It attracts over 35,000 cyclists every year, and so if you're not into cycling, it's always a good weekend to escape Cape Town, which is what we do. But we have some friends out there who take part in this crazy, grueling cycle race that's going up and down, and I can't even remember how long it is, but it exhausts me just when they tell me about it. Surprising fact number 5 is that Robben Island used to be a leper colony long before Nelson Mandela was imprisoned there. Surprising fact number 6 is that there are more blue flag beaches in South Africa than any other African nation. There are 48 blue flag beaches across South Africa, and 8 of those are in Cape Town itself. And so if you want to go and visit a beautiful sandy beach, then you can definitely find plenty of them around Cape Town, although because it's on the Atlantic Ocean, the sea isn't particularly warm. You do see people swimming in the sea, especially in places like Muizenberg, but you've got to be quite brave to do that, and we're too wimpy to do that. So we need to be over in the Durban area, which is on the Indian Ocean side, where it's a lot warmer. Surprising fact number 7 is that South Africa has 11 official languages, including English and Afrikaans, and I won't even try and mention the other ones. Fact number 8 is that South Africa is one of the few countries in the world that has 3 official capitals. So Cape Town is the legislative capital, Pretoria is the executive capital, and Bloemfontein is the judicial capital. Surprising fact number 9 is that in 2018, Cape Town almost ran out of water. It was called Day Zero, and it was the first planned complete shutdown of the citywide water supply. Since then, there hasn't been too many water shortages, but I can remember being in South Africa when that was going on. And the last 2 facts, number 10 is that Bocap's colourful houses, which is a really big tourist attraction, were first painted as a protest after apartheid. And surprising fact number 11, the last fact I want to share with you, is that Cape Town is cheaper than Barcelona, than Lisbon, and also than most US cities, even for luxury travel, but it rarely appears on those luxury lists. So come on, Cape Town, do better at your marketing. So there you go, 11 surprising facts that, as I said, James was surprised at, and I hope there's a few in there that you hadn't heard of before. So just to wrap this video up, Cape Town is far from perfect, but it is bold, it is absolutely beautiful, and it deserves to be on your bucket list of places to visit. Now, this video isn't sponsored by Cape Town's tourism board, although it should be, but I am a massive fan. It's one of the only places in the world that I want to go back to time and time again, because there are so many new things to explore on every single visit. So it is definitely our home, and I'd love you to visit there as well. So have you been? Are you planning to go? Do leave a comment. Let me know what your thoughts are about South Africa, and if there are any surprising facts that I haven't mentioned, do leave a comment below. But otherwise, this is Rob and James, who as ever is upstairs working, and we will see you next time.